In a testament to the fact that rural Liberals really are just as bad as their urban cousins, the Liberal candidate in the Saskatchewan riding of Battlefords-Lloydminster says his solution to the real crime problem happening in rural Canada is to ban your guns. Let's file today's story under Liberals really are the same all over. Last night, as the boss and I were fighting for freedom in Edmonton by refusing to allow a handful of Liberal activists and NDP losers deplatform our Libranos book signing, elsewhere on the prairies, a Liberal candidate named Larry Ingram was promising to take away your property and your freedom. It all happened in a local candidates debate for the Saskatchewan riding of Battlefords-Lloydminster. Local paper Battlefords now has the full story. It reads, when asked how their party would address rural crime, Ingram pointed to the Liberals' plan to ban assault rifles and not touch the long gun registry, but said the problem starts at home. He spoke to the need to ensure children who do grow up in poverty and stumble down the wrong path later in life. Ingram's weird worldview that people who grow up in poverty are just a bunch of future criminals unless the Liberals swoop in with the nanny state to show them a better way of life aside. When was the last time there was a deadly mass shooting in Saskatchewan or even in the entire country with an AR-15? Hint, there never was one. This sort of anti-firearms attitude, well, it might fly in downtown Toronto, being burped out of the lips of Liberal MP Bill Blair, in a place where long guns aren't necessarily an everyday way of life. But you have to be especially Liberal-minded to say this sort of thing in Lloydminster, Saskatchewan, of all places. What's the plan here? The government is going to take your lawfully owned property in advance of some burglar swooping in to take it? Is that how they plan to reduce rural crime, by beating the thieves to it? This is just the government victimizing lawful property owners in advance of their victimization by burglars later, while not ever tackling the problem with the burglars in the first place. Outlawing these nebulously defined assault weapons, which, as you know, really just means black guns with plastic stocks, guns in blackface, really, especially in Saskatchewan, isn't going to do a single thing to make a dent in the rural crime problem there, because unlike today's Liberal candidate in question, I took the time to look up the rural crime statistics for Saskatchewan. I found it in this Humboldt Journal article that cites Statistics Canada data. Now, the article is about how rural Saskatchewan has the highest crime rate in the entire country. The most popular crimes in rural Saskatchewan are mischief, with a rate of 3,894 per 100,000. Level 1 assault, the type that causes little to no physical harm, at 1,502 per 100,000. Failing to comply with a court order at 1,219 per 100,000. Disturbing the peace at 1,090 per 100,000. Theft under 5,000 at 1,071 per 100,000. Alcohol impaired driving at 908 per 100,000. And breaking and entering at 862 per 100,000. It's almost all property-related crimes with a smattering of repeat dirtbag recidivism stuff, the kind of thing a stop to the catch and release method of dealing with long-term criminals will put a dent in. But the Liberals, well, they aren't proposing any measures to deal with any of these very real issues. The Liberals are instead taking the path of least resistance in urban centers to deal with problems happening in rural Canada. They're scapegoating farmers and targeting target shooters. Liberals remain, as always, soft on criminals and very hard on reality. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. To see our full coverage of the federal election campaign, go to campaign2019.com. One of the best ways to help us is to share and like our content. But there's another way you can help us, because we don't have Justin Trudeau as our sugar daddy like they do in the mainstream media. At campaign2019.com, you can donate to cover the costs of getting our journalists where they need to be during the election campaign.